If we share,
It's more saucy. That makes.
I'll get a separate bowl. Bastiaan and
I think we're live.
Are we?
Yep.
We're live.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to snack time
It's
with
working?
ears.
It's working. Okay. Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, nice.
Oh, this is
This
the
is
one you just
working.
split.
Yeah.
Today-
Sorry.
We have informative information on very important information on
Yes. Okay.
updates in Korea, NCRC, and
The MOU.
Mukbang.
MOU.
Oh, we're not sponsored by Shin Ramyeon.
Yeah.
But maybe they will sponsor us.
Here's no, that's Julian's.
No.
Okay.
No.
Where's mine? Is that mine?
No, that's a black ramen.
That's black.
Yeah, but we made the black because Julian messed up the
No,
The
he's
normal
making
one.
the regular.
the
He's
regular.
making the regular one
Yeah,
for
yeah.
you and me to split, right?
No.
We hope that you are having snacks too at home. Go ahead and introduce
That's
yourselves
yours,
in the
that's
chat
yours.
so we know who's joining us today.
Cheese, cheese for July.
How much cheese did you buy?
We're glad you could join us.
Cheese for July.
Do I get a piece of cheese?
Oh, dude, there is lots of sauce in here. Sorry, we're gonna start in a second.
Okay.
Sorry.
Are you and I sharing this one?
Yeah, you just go for it. That's fine.
Okay. Okay, let's talk about the file.
Okay.
It's on the empty board.
Sorry, it's a little chaotic over here.
Let's talk about files. Let's talk about files. Can we take a moment to talk about files?
Yes.
Files. Oh yes, file transfers.
Do
Oh, yeah, that's been going on.
Do we want
Let's
to
introduce ourselves.
introduce ourselves?
Yeah,
first?
maybe we should introduce
Yeah.
ourselves.
I mean, you might be familiar with Mary and me because you watched the last live stream, but more likely everyone's familiar with us because
We
we've
talk a
checked
lot.
up ears. So, but just for good measure, might introduce ourselves. You want to start, Jelaine?
Sure. So I'm Jelaine Lee, and I was adopted to Minnesota. I came back to Korea last year. I actually had lived here several years ago too, but came back last year on a research grant and to do some documentation on our history here, because as our community ages and matures, and as Korea sends less and less children abroad as well, I think eventually our community will not exist. I think it's very important to
These are cookies.
accurately document our history, but also to correct some of the history that has been out there and has spread a lot of myths, I think, around our why we were sent, as we've seen in the documentaries last year with the K-Number documentary, the Frontline documentary, South Korea's Adoption Reckoning, and also the TRC report that came out earlier this year. So I'm one of the co-founders of EARS, and I'm in Korea for the foreseeable future. I'm in Seoul, so if you are in Korea, please get in touch with EARS. And I think we talked also this morning about some of our hobbies. I love the outdoors, biking, hiking. I took a surf lesson on Jeju Island earlier this month with another adoptee, and I did okay, but need more lessons. But it's interesting also to see Korean surf culture. So yeah, but I'm going to hand it off to Omyo.
Hello, everyone. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. So I, similar to Jelaine, was here last year on a research fellowship, and that's how we all kind of met last year, even though some of us met before that. I do not live in Korea. I'm based in Boston. I just got in last night. I'm starting to feel a little bit tired, actually. I'm starting to feel a little jet lagged, but push through. And I'm an associate professor at Boston College. I'm a researcher, and I don't really have any hobbies. That was what we've determined. It's just like taking care of my kids and like doing work, and not a ton of hobbies. But maybe eventually. I'll get more
I mean,
hobbies.
being a professor and having two small kids is like.
That's kind of a
It's a
lot.
lot, but no, I should get more hobbies.
We sometimes go to movies together.
Yes, we do. We did go to a
you
movie
did.
together.
That also helped.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. My name is Bastiaan. Korean name is Seo Vin. I'm not adopted. I'm the only normal one here.
Whatever.
Crazy
Actually, you
statement.
don't
Crazy
have a
statement.
normal one.
Yeah, so both of my parents were adopted to the Netherlands. That's how I ended up here. Yeah, what else? Oh yeah, I study the history of
Yeah, of course.
Korean adoption. So that's how I kind of got involved. And yeah, also started the research on the descendants of Korean adoptees, people like me. So yeah, that's what I do.
Do you have hobbies?
Do I have hobbies? I mean, not,
When you're not doing
I
something
like to
related
read.
adopt, yeah,
I
what do you
read.
like to read about other than adoption?
Other history books.
Yeah.
I build with Legos
Oh, yeah,
sometimes,
Legos.
but Legos is a very expensive hobby, and ears is broke. So,
But Ears
yeah.
is not buying Legos.
Ah, shit. There we go. Let's see. Ears doesn't facilitate my hobby, unfortunately. So,
Hi, everybody. I'm Mary. Before coming to Korea
Julia.
from the U.S., I was an architectural project manager.
Oh,
I now do some corporate coaching. Nobody really seems to care about either one of those things so much because they always want to know about the hot dogs. I am also a competitive eater, how a lot of people also know me. So came back to Korea in 2005, filed a TRC case, and then years happened, and now I'm involved in files and advocacy that way. So welcome, everybody. Oh, and also we have Julian. Julian,
Do you
you here.
wanna
Do you want to
say
come
hi?
say hi to everybody on the live stream?
You don't have to, but
Well, we already
we
told
all
them,
know that
so-
you're here.
hello. I'm Julian. I'm that guy's little brother. I do mostly just back-end stuff here in Ears, just taking notes and stuff and making people log in.
He's a little secretary.
Yeah, yeah. I'll leave you guys back to it. I'm gonna make some ramen.
Yeah, enjoy your noodles. Yeah. Again, we're not sponsored by Nongxin or
But if they
any
want
affiliated
to,
companies.
we wouldn't.
If they ever want to sponsor us, please contact us via our contact form on our website.
If any of the Danish adoptees have joined us, I am eating the Poldak ramen, which was banned in your country.
Oh, yeah,
in
true.
your
Yeah,
honor.
they were-
Yeah.
They go reverse. They go reverse.
Yeah, I think they had this big party when they were first
Ah,
surrendered,
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's been a month, a
2
little
months.
over 2 months since we had the last live stream. A lot has happened in Korea. So yeah, we just wanted to give a little quick update. Also for European followers. So again, 2 time zones. So we had a stream already earlier this morning, but we're going to try to cover kind of the same content this session. Where to start? I mean, a lot has happened the past 2
Well,
months.
but September 15th was the official day that the final day of all the physical files moving from the 4 private adoption agencies. NCRC now has them all in their possession. So they moved from Holt, KSS, SWS, and Eastern. So they are all at the temporary storage facility in Goyang, which takes about an hour from Central Seoul, depending, but probably you should allow more time if you do a visit up there.
Yeah.
And so I have been to the facility, but not since the files have moved. But I think we talked this morning about like if you go to the facility to, you have an appointment to get your paperwork, you don't actually get to see like the room where everything is stored. That's been blocked off. But you also had some distinction to share about like, what was it, file review, and I can't remember the term.
Yeah,
It's
so,
just important to understand that difference.
Just to illustrate what's going on our website, there's a nice gallery of the transfer process. So we were able to track and follow the actual transfer of files from KSS and from Holt. And there's also images of what it looks like on the inside once the files go in and they are in their file cabinets. So these images might give a little bit of a feel of yeah, because a lot of people, they email us or they text us, and one of the most asked question is always, do you know where my files are? Where are they actually located right now, and what does it look like? So yeah, check out our website for a little bit of what that looks like at the moment.
earsoncrc.org.
Yeah. So at the temporary facility, you're able to book a reservation right now through the website if your information disclosure request is approved. So you got to first request information disclosure. Once you went through all that process and you waited a maximum of 75 days, and they tell you, okay, here is your digital file, but you also requested access to actually visit the original, because you want to see the original record itself. They can go to the temporary facility, and you have to book a reservation through them. The Korean website, it's a little crazy why you have to switch to the Korean website. They couldn't add a tab on the English one. But you book a reservation, you visit the temporary facility, and then some worker will show you the original record. You're actually not allowed to touch it yourself, but they do lay it in front of you, and they pass through all the pages. Some pages might be missing, but they explain before with a 2-page disclaimer that any pages containing information of third parties, such as birth parents or not your adoptive parents, but also other foster parents that you might have stayed at before, but also any information that was added later into the file post-adoption that relates to other people. They do not show any of that data. They do provide an explanation of what they took out, but they cannot show you because they are not allowed to alter the original paperwork, so they cannot mask any of third-party information. And yeah, I mean, they cite the infamous privacy law. There is no such law. It's more of a consequence of the fact that the current adoption law in Korea vaguely defines what adoption information really is. And due to that vague definition, they just kind of have to remove everything that they don't feel comfortable possibly showing. So yeah, so if you do the adoption information requests and you request to have access to your birth family information, and they are actually able to reach out, and then they actually give permission for it, then they do show you that paperwork. But then any paperwork containing information about siblings, for example, they cannot show that paperwork. So it's
Well, and third party extends into some weird places too, because that includes like Goal or Co-Root or some of the other NGOs and adoptee advocacy groups. So they help too.
Yeah. So, for example, because I went actually with my mom after she got her whole request approved, went to visit, and we looked at her files, and some of the information they actually didn't show were some pictures from my mom at ICA, because there were other people in the picture. And it was some information about Goal, because Goal actually had contacted KSS for my mother. So that paperwork was also redacted. So yeah, it sometimes it's a little confusing why they can't show you the picture that you're on yourself at this public event. But yeah, I mean, it shows the hesitancy of the NCRC to be actually fully transparent and open. Though I must say that the process itself seemed to be trying to be more transparent and open than at whatever adoption agency ever did. So they actually do show you all, and they really go through all the paperwork, and then they explain what they took out, which is a kind of a different attitude than what the adoption agencies had.
Yeah.
I feel, where they try to limit it as much as possible
And not explain.
and not explain what they don't show.
Well, there was just such a variation depending on each agency and what worker you got. And I think that's a real frustration for people.
Yeah.
Of like some people were saying like, oh, I saw everything, and some people were like, I saw nothing.
Mhm.
And it's just all
Inconsistent.
these, all these rumors, and no one really knew what to expect.
Yeah.
And then you had also mentioned that there's up to 75 days to process.
So one of the issues with this process right now is that, there are a few issues. So these are actually the folders that from the NCRC explaining how you can request access to your information. It's a crazy wall of text. The PDF is on the website. Maybe
On
Julian,
the NCRC website.
Julian, can you maybe send the link in the comments?
Where is it?
On
Yeah,
the NCRC website.
So the problem with this process is that, well, first of all, the law that they wrote,
Mhm.
that the Ministry of Health and Welfare and the NCRC wrote, they gave themselves a maximum of 75 days. Well, previously it was a maximum of 45 days. So they extended it by 30 days
By
for
a month,
themselves.
yeah.
Which is, okay, that's a very long time
Yeah.
to sit and wait.
2.5 months.
Now, you can argue that, okay, but you need to give your birth family the time to react and respond. Well, we know from survey data, from the internal NCRC data, we know that less than 70% of people actually are reached. That's not even about
The birth family members.
yeah. It's not even about
Less
whether
than
they respond or not. It's like less than 70% is actually reached.
That's not a good success rate.
So those people, they don't have to wait 75 days, right? So, and even after they're reached, so the way they actually try to contact the birth family is through registered mail. So the moment you get that back, you immediately know if they accept it or not,
Yeah.
or whether they do not. And to me, it feels that they gave themselves more time because they're always behind already
Yeah.
their mandated
Yeah.
time that they have to respond because they're understaffed.
Yeah.
So because they're understaffed and they do not want to increase the members that actually support
Mhm.
or provide post-adoption services at the NCRC, they just gave themselves double the amount of time. Now, on top of that, if your request is not verified and changed from pending or waiting to in progress, the 75-day clock does not start ticking. So the NCRC made a very arbitrary interpretation of the law where they define the whole in progress of the request
Mhm.
as something that they can just decide when to decide to put your request in progress. While normally everyone understands it as, okay, we check whether you're eligible or not,
Mhm.
and then immediately put you in progress.
Yeah.
So that,
It's a point of confusion, and it's like
I don't
if
think
you've
it's
been
confusion.
if you've been confused, it's probably because you thought like once I submitted it, then the clock starts ticking.
Yeah.
Because normally that's how it goes, but it's like it's not necessarily.
no. So
So-
they have to review. They have to review your request and see if you're eligible or not, and then they put you in the whole pending.
And
progress
then you
basket.
start.
So then what are the things that make something ineligible for
So
processing?
ineligible is when you filed a petition double, for example, because sometimes the system accidentally sends out twice, or you already submitted once and you submit another time. So then the second one or the first one, depending on how they contact you, is denied. The other case might be is that you submitted insufficient data and you do not respond in time to send in the necessary data to prove your identity. And this is, for example, the case when you have a different name than what's registered in the system. So if you ever change your name, your first name or your last name, then you probably should submit proof that you're still that person
Yeah.
who was adopted under that name.
Yeah.
And you might not necessarily get an email about this, and so it might be an internal message. And so for some people, it's like they're not checking the internal messages, but they sent them a message to say we need more information.
Yeah.
Versus actually emailing the individual, let them know.
Yeah. So it's a very vague limbo that people are put in, where they think, okay, I have like a maximum 75 days.
Mhm.
Also, by law, they have to update you by the 15th day about where they are in progress. So actually, we have had people contact us and say, it's been 15 days.
Yeah.
I didn't get any messages.
Mhm.
Well, their entire case was not put into like in progress.
Yes.
Yeah, it
They're
wouldn't
still
even
waiting.
It
started.
didn't even start.
So
Day one hadn't started.
day one hasn't started yet. And that
Crazy.
feels a little bit like cheating.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
feels a little
it's
bit
too
like legal cheating.
Very ambiguous.
A very interesting way to interpret the law.
Misleading.
That seems misleading and possibly a violation of the law. But again, that is, we're trying to address that issue. We are in communication with Parliament and with the Ministry about this issue, saying, yeah, this is ridiculous. People should not have to wait that long to begin with. And you shouldn't be that
Mhm.
using this cheating method
Yeah.
because you are understaffed. Because in essence, that's the issue here.
The law doesn't change.
In essence, there are not enough people
Mhm.
to progress all the requests.
Yes.
And
Because-
we've warned them. We've warned them repetitively that they're trying to take care here of 4 agencies.
Yeah.
Where in total, before even they closed down
Yeah.
in June, if you combine all the number of requests, information requests done to the NCRC and all the individual agencies combined, you come up about 400 to 500 requests per month. They have that data. They should have expected that, or at least more, because you have 3 months of pent-up pressure and all the requests that were not progressed.
Because how many people are staffed at the Go Young site for NCRC?
6 people.
And how many, we have 4 agencies that have sent their
Yes.
paperwork there, plus also domestic adoption.
So there's about 250,000 adoption folders.
And so previously, do we know how many staff the agencies had, like for post-adoption services?
No,
maybe?
that really different per agency.
Yeah,
So
but probably
KSS
total was more than 6.
Oh yeah,
There's
total is
4
more than 6.
agencies.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, they have to have more than that.
Also, the current capacity at the temporary facility means that they're only able to scan about 3 adoption folders per day, while
Crazy.
the statistics show that about between 15 to 35 requests come in per day. So you see that there's quite a little bit of
It's a problem.
a buildup of
Yeah.
unprocessed
Yeah.
cases.
Yeah.
Because they don't even have the staff to look at those requests and check whether they're eligible or not.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's if you've done the requests and your request still hasn't received any answer or they're not replying your email, that's probably why. That's just, I mean, the staff at the temporary facility, I think they are really trying to work hard, do as best what they can. But again, they also don't have the expertise to handle such old paperwork.
Yeah.
So that's why they're probably trying to be extra careful, why they're only processing about 3 files a day. Because for some adoptees, there's about 100 pages in there. And some other adoptees might be less, but a lot of times they also have the entire communication record in your personal folder, where if you've had sent emails or if you've ever visited them, they left notes, then there are in your folder. So that's a lot of paperwork to go through and have to scan. And they have to be careful, of course, not to damage anything.
Yeah.
So that takes time. We've warned them. You probably need more staff members to handle this.
Yeah. Well,
They're not
they're
just the
hiring.
staff members, it's also the equipment too. They just don't have the equipment to handle the capacity. So even if they have the workers, like the scanners, they don't have enough scanners.
Are the scanners like high tech? Are
High
they
capacity.
like
I think they have like
I mean, the scanners they have are good quality scanner.
Oh,
they
okay.
just don't have enough of them.
Okay.
They don't have
And
enough of
enough
them,
people.
and they don't have enough qualified, trained personnel to
Yeah.
really
Mhm.
get the most out of them.
Yeah.
Because they're really slow. So that's one of the issues at the temporary facility.
Mhm.
The other issue is that if you go and go to the temporary facility for a file review, they actually don't do a file review.
Mhm.
They only show you your original record.
Mhm.
And in the 2-pager explainer, the disclaimer, before you actually get to see your record, they explain to you, oh yeah, we're actually not going to explain anything about your file.
Mhm.
If you want any translation or explanation about anything in your file, you have to book a separate visit to the main office in Seoul. So it's the main office in Seoul where using a copy, so the scanned copy of your record, where they actually are able to redact all the private information. So ironically, you get to see more paperwork at the Seoul office. And that's where they provide, or they say they provide, actual review services, is what they call it.
So, but they're not going, so if you want an interpreter, like, do we know the level of proficiency, language proficiency, English, French, Dutch, any, by the staff, that, or should people just bring their own interpreter?
I mean, the staff is not really well trained
Mm.
in that sense. I mean, we know that there's a French speaking adoptee working at the NCRC, so they probably have some French speaking capabilities available. So the English, there are some workers who speak a little bit of English.
Yeah.
But again, adoption files are a very specific type of document.
Yeah.
It's very specific language. There's very specific acronyms. Also, a lot of pre-1990 records contain, let's say, mid-1980s. Before that, a lot of them contain Chinese characters.
Mine does.
A lot of people in their 20s, 30s are not that well versed
that are
in
working
Chinese
at
characters
NCRC.
anymore, let alone the handwriting. And that's a real issue. People used to really artistically write the Chinese characters. And it takes some experience to know, okay, what does it actually say?
Yeah.
And then after that, properly explain it in the correct context.
Yeah.
So then there's like, based on the types of files that are typically in an adoption record, like some of those I think were maybe legal requirements to even be sent for adoption. So I would think that those would be relatively standardized, right? So then based on that, like we know that redactions happen with like biological parents' information. What I am understanding from you now is also adoptive parents' information, and then potentially any third party who has been involved in your adoption. So that would be basically anybody's identifying information that is not the adoptees. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So.
And then is there any kind of sunset or maximum on like, okay, well, this adoptee is like 70, so they're like the odds that their biological parents are still living, like,
No.
or is there a non-response?
So unless the NCRC
Limitation.
specifically has gotten the confirmation that the release of the information is allowed, either by verbal or written permission, they cannot release that information because that's what the law says. So again, this is a legal issue. This is a policy fight on the legislature, and that the law needs to change in the way they define accessibility for adoptees to their own records. So yeah, we have some questions in the comments.
Okay, so then in terms of privacy, then the default, I mean, we're kind of splitting hairs here. the default is secrecy, not necessarily privacy, my opinion, right? Not a lawyer, but you're going to get the redactions by default, right? So then you would have to have like the explicit approvals. And I'm assuming there's like a format that they want this in too. If somebody says, yes, I consent, because I have also heard of instances where like the adoptee, their adopted parents, their biological parents all go in and they still can't get the record.
So yeah, that's again previously by the adoption agencies where there's a lot of arbitrariness there because the way the adoption agencies provide services before 2012 there wasn't a proper law. Then after 2012 they didn't really abide by the law. So there's a lot of ambiguity there in terms of everyone had a separate and different experience at the adoption agencies because they were providing different services, different level standards of services. Now that it's all under the NCRC, it's going to be a little more systemized and structured. Problem is, they really haven't figured it out yet how to structure or systemize it properly yet, because they just started this, and they're also learning on the go because they didn't adequately prepare for this.
Right.
They had 2 years to prepare. They really didn't do that well. And now, we are seeing the consequences of that.
So then, like, even if an adoptee goes through this long 75+ day process, they get, whatever forms, agreements, signatures, will they be able to get copies of their records? Because under the adoption agencies, depending on the social worker who you were talking to that day, you might be able to get like a quick flip through, like there's no way you can see the pages. You might get somebody who walks out of the room and that's like, take pictures, right? And a lot of varying degrees in between. So under NCRC, will adoptees actually get copies even if they're redacted?
Yeah, so everyone gets redacted copy of your full set of documents that they have in possession. Again, this does not mean that that's all your adoption files. That's simply what the adoption agencies have and what was transferred to the NCRC. So they will provide a full scan of that and redact any third-party information. So that's third parents, family, any other person that's in there that's not you. And you get a digital PDF of that scan. And that's also, again, they print it out. When you go to the main sole office and you go for a file review, that's the scan that they use to actually explain stuff to you. So yeah, that is an improvement.
Yeah.
The government taking responsibility of records, I don't think that fundamentally that's a bad thing. It's a very good thing. It's just the way that they are doing it is problematic.
Well, right now.
And I mean that's what EARS has been trying to address, right? That yes, we welcome the government taking responsibility, but there's some rough edges that need to be polished off.
There's a lot of
so to
rough
speak.
edges.
And one of the issues has been, for example, the environmental conditions in the temporary facility.
Yeah.
The lack of proper humidifiers and lack of disinfection, sprinklers, lack of safety, lack of accessibility, and I mean, in a way, we have succeeded in raising awareness to this issue, and that's why we have the whole memorandum of understanding, and they're going to transfer the files to the National Archive.
Can we go into that a little bit?
Let's just highlight that for a
what is
moment.
The MOU.
Yeah.
So
This crowd is maybe new to the topic, so let's kind of give an overview of what's happened.
So the MOU, or Memorandum of Understanding, was signed the beginning of October. Well, right after Chuseok, right? Yeah, it was the week after Chuseok.
Yeah.
And it's signed between the NCRC and the National Archive in Korea. So
And so that means there's an intention that the files will again be transferred because of the issues around the temporary facility. So the files, there's kind of a discussion in MOU, letter of intent, saying that NCRC will move the files to the National Archive. There's not any detail, schedule, or process. There's only the understanding that this is the intent.
So there's not, so we're waiting for a specific plan with a timeline.
Yes.
So we
There's
don't
no
know,
details
we
right
don't
now.
know when that will happen.
This is an intent, to form a contract. This is not there. We don't have any of the, I mean, I think people have asked, rightfully so, like, what is the budget? What's the timeline? When the move happening? We don't know. And we don't know if they know.
Yeah.
So then what would be some of the logistics that would have to be considered for our files to smoothly, successfully move from this temporary refrigerator in Goyong to the National Archive? Like, I know we don't have a lot of details, none of us
Yeah.
are archivists, but like, what are some of the things that we are already aware of?
I mean, so first of all, I think we should recognize that it feels a little bit that we've been gaslighted for so long, that the temporary facility is very safe and you're complaining about nothing, and now suddenly they do recognize
They
that
do
it's actually
recognize
not up to standards.
Yeah.
So
Right
yeah,
before the national audit, by the way.
Yeah,
The timing.
I feel very mixed about this.
Mhm.
It's good that now we are moving to
Mhm.
possibly to a place that they are actually keeping up the standards, but yeah, it feels a little.
There's a step missing.
There's some. They did a little bit of in between bad work, and now they're trying to patch it up.
And was the
So-
NCRC's post about the MOU, it was only in Korean, right?
Again,
Yes,
they just
only
only
in
post in
Korean,
Korean because it's all for show in Korean politics.
Yeah.
And
A little
that's why we
photo
are
op.
without any concrete details about
Yeah.
who is legally responsible.
Yeah.
So by law, the NCRC is responsible for all the adoption records of the adoption agencies, the adoption records that are housed at the municipalities, and the adoption records that are still at the orphanages and the child institutions.
And this includes the domestic adoptions
And that includes
international
domestic.
adoptions.
So that's domestic and international adoptions. So even if they transfer it to the National Archive, then it becomes a little bit of a legal ambiguity of who is responsible there. Because hypothetically, if something happens to the file
Mhm.
while it is under the preservation by the National Archive, then who's responsible, right? So they are trying to create a legal foundation for this by putting an addendum under the Public Records Act,
Mhm.
which also defines the role of the National Archive. But again, a legal addendum takes a year or two.
Gosh.
So in that time, it's like, okay, who's responsible for this process? Another issue is that all the files need to be disinfected before they're allowed to go into any of the storage halls
Yeah.
of the National Archive, because they actually have standards.
Yeah.
You know, they do
Unlike-
not.
Unlike
They
the
do not.
facility in
Yeah.
Goyong has
They don't
no
allow
standards.
random documents that are infested with bugs and mold and different kind of fungi
Dust.
and dust all to come in, because you don't want that all to mix together.
No.
That's a bad thing.
No.
Well, the NCRC has done that now at the temporary archive,
Because it's okay to do that with coupon.
but they all will have to go through some kind of disinfection procedure. That takes a long time.
Mhm.
So for certain methods are between 1 to 4 months per batch, right? And it's 250,000 folders.
Yeah.
That's a lot of files. That's going to
Yeah.
take time.
Yeah.
So all the experts that we have contacted say that it's at least going to be a year or a year and a half.
Gosh.
Now, the NCRC has said, the Ministry of Health and Welfare has said to some of members of parliament that we're in contact with, they have told them that they can do it possibly by the first half of next year,
That's still really fast.
which
Yeah.
kind of sounds impossible timeline-wise.
Seems like
So
they're
we
rushing it.
try to figure out, okay, so what kind of procedure do they have in mind that they think they can do it by then? It turns out that they plan to like lock in all the documents in the temporary facility, spray the hall with chemicals, leave it locked for a month, and then transfer the files to the National Archive, saying now they're all disinfected.
Gosh.
The problem with that method is, first of all, that hall is not airtight. Even if you lock it, I mean, it was built as a fridge, so
Right.
it's better than nothing.
Right.
But it's not airtight. Let alone, it's not made to handle those chemicals. I mean, if the community around that building hears about, I mean, they're probably not going to be
We
happy
could make them
that there are
aware.
carcinogens,
Yeah.
you know, flying
Yeah.
out of the building for a month.
Well, it's not just
Um,
like any building. It's like it has
Hazardous
food,
waste
it's
products.
food storage.
Yeah. So I
right?
won't be ordering from Coupon during
Yes.
this time, right?
Yes.
Michelle asked a question about the audit.
Yes.
About what are you expecting and not expecting from the outcome, and what does the audit consist of?
What are they
Oh yeah,
actually
yeah.
on?
Let's finish the MOU, then we'll talk about the audit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the second issue is that the chemical that they would use to disinfect during that month probably dissolves film material. So any photos, any video films, photo rolls that are inside the adoption folder might possibly dissolve as a consequence of such a procedure. So again, it's an issue that we can probably address and prevent from happening because it has been shown that they do respond to our emergency calls. But it's a little frustrating that we have to go through this
Yeah, every
process.
time.
It's frustrating that we have to call the experts and have to ask them, what are they saying? Does this make sense? And that the experts tell us, no, why are they doing this? And that we then have to communicate that to the government and say, hey, what you're
What's-
doing
Yeah.
is bad. Don't
Yeah.
do this. But it is what we have to do, unfortunately. Part of this, again, yeah, it relates to the national audit. It is also why they rushed this announcement without any concrete details, because the national audit is this political theater show that Korea always has in October, where the members of parliament get to ask critical questions to the heads of all executive branches. So all the ministers, all the organizations of the government. So that includes, again, the Minister of Health and Welfare and the head of the NCRC. So the head of the NCRC is planned to have his audit next Tuesday. So we hope that we've raised enough attention and that we've talked with enough members of parliament and intensely enough that they will ask some very critical questions on that day. Again, it's not to get concrete like details or promises on that day from the head of the NCRC, but it's good to have it on public record
Yeah.
that there are these issues
Right.
and we have addressed these issues because I mean it's one thing that we know about it.
Right.
It's another thing that it's actually on the record of the National Assembly.
And elected officials know.
And
about
elected
it,
officials
yeah.
know about it. And they have a lot of authority when it comes to demanding access to information. So they if they request any information,
So then
then
what
they have to comply with it.
what kind of information are they actually auditing then? What are they looking for? What kinds of general topics would they be addressing?
Um,
So would it be like compliance, policy compliance?
I mean, it's
execution,
all types of.
finance.
It's really broad. It's really
Okay.
broad. It's whatever comes to their attention really, and what they think is interesting enough to ask about.
Yeah.
So
To make sure things are being done properly.
yeah, so it's again like the government is not following their own regulations, for example, or there
Okay.
are signs of corruption, or it might simply be a political show. You know, it really depends on what is going on and what is interesting to ask questions about.
Yeah.
And you have to keep in mind again, there are higher level politics going on here.
Yeah.
There are peoples who belong to particular parties who have particular party politics
Yeah.
that they have to take into account as well. So it really takes a certain level of maneuvering through that landscape to figure out, okay, this is a person we can talk to and approach. This is a person that probably might not respond to us. And then it's trying to raise the awareness of this issue so that they actually go out and ask critical questions
Yeah.
that then makes the ministry or the NCRC a little nervous about what they're doing.
So,
So
like,
they're a little more on it,
Yeah.
and they devote a little more time and energy to actually this issue.
so like critical question as an example might be like, why are the files being relocated again, for example, right? Or why is the
For
MOU
Yeah.
been
Who will be held
signed?
accountable
You've already invested all of this money.
Mhm.
Ministry of Finance has allocated this money to relocate the file. Why do we need to do this twice? Might be an example of a critical question.
Yeah. For example, you have, I mean, it's a wide range of questions that can be asked in
Yeah.
terms of,
Okay.
because it's such a wide range of issues
Right.
that are ongoing.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, one of the reasons why this move and this MOU came to be in the first place was because a member of parliament visited during a protest, the latest protest at the temporary site.
September.
They visited the facility,
Mhm.
and they went there and they asked questions, and they were asking questions about the sprinklers.
Mhm.
So these are turned off, right?
Mhm.
And the NCRC couldn't say no because they are still turned on, and that is a problem.
Yeah.
So that office, the office of that member of parliament, continued to raise that issue
Mhm.
with the NCRC, with the Ministry of Health and Welfare, and said, "What are you going to do about it?
Mhm.
Are you going to do something about it?"
And
And again, that puts a lot of pressure on the kettle there,
Yeah.
to have something before the national audit.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what are they gonna
Mhm.
say when someone might
Yeah.
ask a critical question, and then it's actually on the national record?
Mhm.
Because this is again, this happens all behind the scenes.
Yeah.
None of this is really public.
national record though is public. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
audit notes.
So like all of the
Um,
things that we've had, like the discussions with some of the assembly members, some of the discussions we've had with NCRC, those are helpful to have, and we have documentation of that communication. But in terms of like public record or recognition or accountability, national audit is important.
Yes. It's one of the biggest political theater of the year, so it gets a lot of media attention. So that's good for raising the issue and keeping that momentum going.
So I would caveat that a little bit because someone just asked, why would you feel that it's a political show? And I think that, like, when you say it's political theater, it's not to say that it doesn't matter, right? We're not saying like, oh, this is just a show, nothing's going to happen. But it is critical to raise these questions. And so it is theater in many ways, right? So it's like you're going up, you're having the people are going to be shouting certain questions, and then the NCRC will come with their answers. They're like answer non-answers usually. But it's important, like each time, like to keep publicly raising these issues is still important.
Yeah, and in a way, the move to the National Archive is welcome. It shows that building on the years of adoptee advocacy, that we still can have effect.
Yeah.
We can have impact if we
Yeah.
try to.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that it was necessary.
Mhm.
It's unfortunate that it took so much for them to actually do something.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that we had to go through so many hoops and loops and get to the highest ranks of the political system, which again took a lot of effort because we had to go to the media first. We had to be in the media. We had to do our speeches. We had to do our op-eds for them to the MPs to take some interest. And once the MP take interest, then they can ask the critical questions, and that finally puts pressure on the ministry
Right.
to do something.
I think it should be also noted that this, advocacy by adoptees for adoptees has been going on for decades.
Yes.
And so, this did not happen overnight. And I think because of the work that adoptees who came back in like the mid 90s or even earlier and, ask and, track and speak and all of the different organizations have, raised their voices for years. And so I think that paved the way And it's important that we've had people on the ground here and a lot of Korean allies too who have helped push this forward.
I think one of the challenges, I'm just taking a look through the comments, one of the challenges with the national audit and just in general on getting meaningful action forward is that NCRC is like responsible for fixing their own stuff in a lot of ways, right? And so if you're the one who's messed up, then being the one to fix the mistakes is also kind of, it can be a little dicey, questionable. But I think what the role of the advocacy is that, like Bastiaan was saying, like we build these relationships with media, with the community, Korean citizens, and allies, and within the National Assembly, the different ministries. And so it's still challenging, I think, for NCRC to correct their own stuff because they're the source of a lot of the problems. But then when you get the accountability, and not just like one layer of accountability, but multiple cross sections of that accountability, that puts the pressure on them to actually do it. Because there's so many eyes on them, and then there's also risk of some kind of loss of trust or reputation or future funding if they don't follow through.
Yeah, and I mean, then they can't say they didn't know,
Right.
right? It's like if something happened to the files and going on, can't be like, I didn't know. It's like, no,
Right.
there's public
Yeah,
record
yeah,
on
yeah,
numerous
yeah,
times.
Yeah.
You knew.
Yeah, that's why it's important. Also,
Yeah.
for future accountability for the record. I mean, there's some questions that Michelle posted in regards to adoption paperwork. What about if your adoptive parents have passed away? Then unfortunately, there's no way to get unredacted access anymore because, again, the law states that you need explicit permission to access any information about your adoptive parents as well. I do think that in terms of like your adoptive, so not your birth parents, but adoptive parents, from what I remember when I visited the temporary archive, the disclaimer said that they will never show any information about the adoptive parents in your file, even if you have permission. So again, so the reason why is because the adoption law does not contain any clauses about providing information about adoptive parents. So they just say, so we're not going to provide that information.
What if the
So-
adoptive parent themselves requests the information?
They are not people who can request that information. So they can only
They
request.
can't request information about themselves.
No, so the only ones who can request information are adoptees. And if the adoptee is a minor, then they need also prove that they have
Adoptive
permission from their adopted parents.
Oh gosh.
Those are the
So-
only people who can, under the current law, request information from the NCRC.
So extended family, siblings, biological parents, adoptive parents cannot request records.
No.
They should not have been able to, though anecdotally, people have said the adoptive parents have requested records.
Yeah, but that was
they
with
would
the
not,
agencies.
with the agencies
Yeah.
before. And so if you're like, oh wait, I know somebody who that happened to, that's
Pre
fine.
NCRC.
Yes.
Yeah, no information about adoptive parents is going to be made visible. Nor can adoptive parents actually request the file. What types of paperwork are we? I assume it says redacted.
Yeah.
What type of paperwork are redacted, even though adoptions are illegally entitled?
Access with their adoption file.
I assume that says legally entitled. What type of paperwork? What types of paperwork are redacted, even though adoptees are legally entitled to full access to their adoption file? Adoptees are not legally entitled to full access to their adoption file. Again, adoptees are entitled to see parts of their adoption file and fully with parts redacted. They are legally entitled to full access per certain conditions. So only if certain conditions are met do you get full access. The condition being that your birth family, so your birth parents, approve of
Yeah.
revealing that information.
Wait, so they're supposed to approve of sharing information about themselves that they themselves cannot request.
Yeah.
So information that they're not even aware exactly of what it is.
So like, if I were an adoptive or biological parent, and I'm not sure if I want to sign off and say, yes, I
Sure.
agree to share this information, I have no means of viewing the information to see
What it
yes
is.
or no, I don't know what this is,
Yeah, you don't.
to give my permission to say,
Shot in the dark.
so, yeah.
Well, no, the adoptive parent's out of the question anyway. It's only the birth parent.
Birth parent.
No adoptive parent can give permission. It's only the adoptive parent.
only
The
the
birth parent. Yeah.
birth
the
parent.
parent, yeah.
So they're being asked to give permissions to something that they're not able to
They can't be.
review.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting choice.
Again, it's how the
Not
adoption
surprising.
law is currently defining or
Yeah.
working with in the bounds of what it tries to define as the privacy of the birth parents or the privacy of the birth family or the privacy of anyone else who is not defined by the law, which is again one of the issues that we're trying to address here.
But
That
wouldn't that undermine privacy though? Like if I can't even see what I'm being asked to sign my
Yeah.
consent
The logic
to,
doesn't really seem to.
then-
the logic doesn't add
then
up.
it undermines my privacy.
Like,
I'm
what
flying
logic?
blind instead of giving informed
Yeah.
consent.
So one of the things that we're trying to change here, that one of the changes that we're trying to push for, and one of, in terms of that adoption law and how it defines access,
Mhm.
is, and especially in light of the whole TRC results that has proven that a lot of adoptions were illegal. Birth parents didn't actually know their child was sent
Yeah.
abroad for adoption.
Didn't know their child was still
Didn't-
alive.
Know their child was still alive, so they can actually not give permission and stuff.
Yeah.
So the way we hope that in the future the law will define it, is that anyone has access,
Mhm.
unredacted, to all the information about the birth parents, unless the birth parents explicitly
Say no.
say no.
Mhm.
So
So
if
the
they cannot
opposite
reach
versus
them,
now.
because there's so many
Yes.
reasons why they couldn't reach them, right? Because a lot of them already have passed away. Adoption started in the 1950s.
Mhm.
It's been a while. A lot of them have passed away, and a lot of them don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know that their child is actually alive or exists.
Mhm.
A lot of information is incorrect, right? So, what's the purpose in hiding incorrect information?
Yeah.
So, the entire premise of the privacy, the reason why the clause is there is always explained as the privacy clause. And the question is, who does the privacy clause really protect?
Yeah.
It actually protects no one.
Nobody.
It doesn't function. It's a dysfunctional clause that needs to be turned on its head.
Mhm.
And yes, I do think, I'm of the opinion that it does need to include that if birth parents explicitly forbid
Mhm.
the review of information, that should also be respected.
Yeah.
I think that's an honest balance between respecting the privacy of the adoptee and their right to access to information, and the right of the birth parents to also their privacy. I mean, that will always clash.
Mhm.
But again, that's my personal opinion.
But then
Of course,
also
they're
the birth
adoptees.
parents should have access to review the information that
What's
they're
in there.
denying.
Yeah.
I do think
Like,
that should also be
That's ridiculous that they're
part
being
of the law,
asked to.
Because it might be incorrect.
They just
Right.
right.
Yes,
Blinded,
yes.
incorrect
And we
narrative
know-
about them.
We know
Right.
that some of the
You don't want
narratives,
that released to
yeah.
that person.
and we know that some of the narratives are incorrect.
Yes.
So I'm looking at the time. It is 5:00.
Okay.
And I just want to emphasize too, like what Bastiaan's talking about is systemic change for all adoptees. Because I know, and maybe these are people's like individuals' experiences, where it's like some people did get information out, right?
Mhm.
Depending on the age, this is pre-NCRC changes. Like depending on the agency, depending on the social worker, there are people who were able to get all their information out, but that wasn't for everyone. majority, and many people were told no because of this privacy law. And so we're talking about something that we want access for everyone. So it shouldn't be on the whim of a social worker.
Or an NCRC worker.
We actually also got an email with some questions because they cannot use
Okay.
the live chat
Okay.
function for some
Okay.
reason.
Yeah.
So questions would be, if I want both to visit the temporary facility and a file review at NCRC, are these different requests I have to submit? Yes, those are different requests. So for the temporary facility and the file review at the NCRC, on the website, there are two different tabs to make two different reservations. So again, that you can only make a reservation after you have done your adoption information disclosure request and you've gotten a positive result. Then you can make a reservation for the temporary facility and a reservation at the NCRC headquarters. Can you explain more on the movement of files to some?
We have also heard that
Oh,
some
yeah,
people
that's-
are having
that's
issues with
options.
the NCRC website
Yeah.
itself too. So if you have those issues,
Email NCRC.
email NCRC and let them know. But we've been hearing that pretty regularly,
Yeah.
that the site itself has not consistently
Yeah.
functioned.
And we did, we're closing our survey that we had out this week, and so thanks to everybody who
Yes.
filled that out and did share your frustrations and experiences, and hopefully we can be using that information with the National Assembly audit next week, and yeah, it's, your feedback is important, and we know that that takes time and sometimes a lot of energy, so thank you for doing
This
that.
is a community effort.
So, any
What
other
were some
last
of the
questions?
email
or-
questions?
I think that was,
I think with the MOU, but we already talked about
Yeah.
that. Chapter.
so.
There's one.
There is one more about
Yeah, the last
some of
question
the
about
materials within the files. So before the files were transferred from the adoption agencies, there was no inventory of the contents of the folders themselves. They only looked at, okay, well, I have X number of folders. They got a barcode on the outside of the folder, and they're like, okay, this is folder ABC, whatever number. They had no idea what was in those folders. Generally speaking, we know that there's like letters, pictures, documents, variety of items. And the question is, can any of those personal items like photographs or letters, or in some cases even like toys or clothes, be returned to the adoptee? And from my understanding, when these records were transferred to the government, they are now government property, correct?
Yes, that is
Yeah.
correct.
And so then to return it to the adoptee, they'd have to like decommission and like go through a legal process
Yes, so that's
for
still,
that to occur. And right now, there's not a provision that allows that.
so it's a little unclear what will happen. Because again, they haven't really fixed the whole legal question. And we have raised this question, and they said they'd come back to us about it as well. But it's a little unclear as of now. From the likes, what it looks like in terms of the pictures, it seems unlikely that they will actually give those out, especially because they are part of the folder. Physical artifacts might be different. But again, with the whole transfer to the National Archive, everything's up in limbo again.
Yep.
Okay.
So
So stay tuned.
yeah, and again, there are not that many people who are working on this issue in the government.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like a handful of staff. We know most of them by name. So yeah, it's really, if they're really focusing on one thing, they can't do the other stuff anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're currently really busy with trying to figure out how to execute the MOU, which means that all the other stuff in relation to this, that's kind of like not in progress
Yeah.
in terms of policy development.
So in
yeah.
terms of like policy priority, we want to make sure that the files, the artifacts are all secure and safe and not going to be destroyed in any part of the transfer or preservation process. Because if there is any sort of deterioration or loss, then there are no artifacts, nothing that could potentially at a later date be returned to the adoptees.
Yeah.
So like in terms of focus and priorities, like that would be the top priority right now. But we do recognize that there's other things down the line that may come into effect. We did get an apology from the president of Korea just prior to the Chuseok holiday. And it was issued on his Facebook page. There was no press conference. I know some of the news articles that came out did have a photograph from a different press conference that he had given. So I think maybe some of the adoptees had maybe rightfully so, an incorrect impression that he had actually spoken to the adoptees directly or spoken to the press directly. So the Facebook apology does recognize like the Korean government had a role in the adoption process and that a lot of the adoptees and their families were harmed through this system, but it didn't make any sort of recommendations on reconciliation efforts, on any kind of legal remedies, social policy change. It really was just kind of the general big blanket apology. So I know it's brought up a lot of feelings in the community. Some people feel like that's adequate, that's all they needed. Other people are like, that is not even close to acceptable. And then kind of the range of whatever falls between that. So if you have thoughts on that, feel free to share in the chat. But I don't know if everybody wanted to kind of chime in on how.
I mean, I think, Fears responded, and I think it's important to note that it was not the first time there's been a presidential apology. 1998, President Kim Dae-jung actually invited several leaders from adoptee organizations, adoptee leaders, to the Blue House in Korea. And, but I think that also shows that, like, okay, there was, a more ceremonial apology, but nothing, what has really changed since then? I don't know that. I mean, yes, there has been incremental change and some things have improved for adoptees coming back to Korea, living in Korea, but overall, it's still a very cumbersome, difficult process. I just, got my visa here in Korea, and it's like, okay, why do we have to go through, I understand there has to be a process, but it's like, can there be some things that are waived for adoptees, for DOCADs and so on? I mean, I just think there needs to be, some thought given to that as far as correcting the past. So the apology alone is not enough. There has to be some systemic change. And one of those things, all those things we listed in, put that on our Instagram, of, things that we think would be tangible, corrective action.
I mean, what's good to remember is that apology was issued on
Facebook.
October 1st, because that's the day Korea ratified the Hague Convention. So it's the day that President Lee basically was like, look, we're now taking responsibility. Sorry for what happened, but now we are, as a government, taking responsibility of the adoption process.
On paper, we're doing it.
Which basically means that the NCRC is now a state-level adoption agency.
Yes. Yes.
And they have not abolished overseas adoption.
No.
They are actively preparing to start adopting children from the Philippines, Thailand,
Into Korea.
Mongolia into Korea, while technically it is still legal to send out children out of Korea.
Yeah.
Of course, under the condition that no alternative care is possible.
Yeah.
But it baffles me that the apology for everything that went wrong and the entire industry that was created to enable the sending out of the export of so many children.
Yeah.
On the day that the government basically announces, now we're going to do it for you.
Yeah.
It feels disingenuous. It feels the apology being used in a promotional narrative
PR.
that should not be connected to each other.
Yeah.
The apology should stand on itself.
Yeah.
And should incite a broader reflection on Korea's child welfare policy, its policy, family policy, and its lack of recognition of women's rights.
Yeah.
Because that's really the essence of this issue.
Yeah.
The moment you connect it to, so now we're actually going to be responsible for adoption and we're going to spend more money on promoting domestic adoption, as if the issue has ever really been the lack of people wanting to adopt domestically in Korea.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely not the past 3 decades. And they're still spending so much money on it because they live in the illusion that it's a lack of domestic adoption that really drove Korea's export overseas. Yeah. Which sure might be the equation in the 70s, but definitely not after the 90s.
Yeah.
So, and there's the statistics to prove it. So the 700 million won spent on promoting all of domestic adoption could also be spent on supporting families' preservation efforts.
Yeah.
So supporting unwed mothers, supporting families in critical conditions, so that they do not have to give up their child, or that they are given an alternative choice, really, and that you can say, hey, we can financially assist you. Do you actually want to take care of your own child?
Yeah.
Instead of saying, can you financially take care of your child? If not, then we can send it away for you. Which is that mindset is just totally different.
Yeah.
And that shift is not visible at all.
Yeah.
And that makes the entire apology really meaningless if they're just going to continue with the same mindset.
I have heard like a counterpoint to that perspective though, which is that President Lee is very early into his presidency. And so if he were giving just lip service and had no intention of making policy changes, then he could have waited until much later on. So the fact that he did issue this, even though there are these other political issues tied to it, and there's that timing and kind of framing that fits within, because he is putting this out early into his term, then that allows time to actually implement and follow through on the intent. And this is just kind of feedback that I'm hearing.
That's a good point.
Because there are,
it's like you
With
take
the
the
5 years.
apology as what it is. It's an apology. It's not reparation.
Mhm.
This is not, there's no action follow-up yet. It is an apology. And we said this in the first stream. I'm aware of time, so we have to post it. But you get to have whatever reaction you want to have to that apology and to the MOU, right?
And
And
all
so
the
it's
things,
like all of those things. And I think for us as a group, we disagree all the time, and that's all right, right? Like that's okay. There should be space for this, that we can have like these conversations. And it doesn't discount anyone's experience or discounts anyone's feelings. Like we get to have all of these things because it's complicated.
Yeah.
Just like everything in adoption, there is no, this was great or not. Like for me, I didn't read the apologies and think this is time for a victory. Like I was like, this is an apology. That's all of it.
Yeah.
On Facebook.
Yeah.
And that's all of it. And that's not nothing.
Right.
It's not nothing. It's something.
Right.
But I am waiting for reparations.
Yeah. More.
Something.
Yeah, I mean, in a way,
This is not
it
repair. Repair doesn't
Right.
happen with just an apology. Repair requires behavioral change. So let's see the change.
It is a win again that adoption has made it to the degree that the president
Yeah,
does
it's something.
Yeah.
put out
Yes.
something.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
significant for
Yeah.
many people. Yes. Yeah.
At the same time, now we need to have some action.
Mhm.
There are plenty of other policy issues that the men can be
Yes.
worried about.
Yes.
Oh, yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Many
Yeah.
other things. So with that, I think we'll wrap up and thank you everybody for joining.
Thanks
Please,
for joining.
Continue to follow our Instagram. We will, probably be doing another live stream at some point here. We do have a newsletter now, so please sign up for that via our website. Great way to stay informed, and also just like share the information with your friends and anyone who you feel is an ally. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.